The recruitment hall of the Galactic Defense Academy buzzed with the energy of 1,000 species, each one convinced they were the apex of evolution. Crystalline beings from Sector 9 floated near the ceiling, their bodies refracting light into dancing prisms. Hulking warriors from a mineral world stood like living mountains, their stone-plated shoulders nearly scraping the reinforced archways. Everywhere you looked, there was power, size, density, the kind of biological advantages that made survival in the void of space possible. And then there was Maya Chen. She stood 5 feet 4 inches tall, weighing maybe 120 pounds after a good meal, with dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail and brown eyes that held more steel than anyone bothered to notice. Her application number glowed on the holographic display above her head. Applicant 4719. Human. Earth. Sol system. Backwater territory. Barely explored. The Vrexian next to her, a reptilian giant named Kross, looked down with what might have been amusement if his species had facial expressions anyone could read. "Little mammal," he hissed, his translator rendering his words into smooth galactic standard. "You realize the survival rate for first cycle cadets is 43%, correct? That drops to 11% for species under 2 meters tall." Maya tilted her head, regarding him with the kind of calm that comes from being underestimated your entire life. "Good thing I'm not planning on dying then," she said. Kross made a sound like gravel sliding down a metal chute. "Laughter, maybe, or indigestion. Spirit, I appreciate that. But spirit does not stop a Kronak battle charge. Spirit does not survive depressurization. Spirit does not." "Next group, proceed to Bioscan Station 7, the automated system announced." Maya stepped forward, leaving Kross mid-lecture. She could feel the eyes on her. Not curious eyes. Dismissive ones. The kind that calculated her worth in seconds and found her lacking. It was fine. She was used to it. Back on Earth, she had been too small for the combat divisions, too quiet for leadership tracks, too unremarkable for anyone to take seriously. But Maya had taken the entrance exams anyway. Scored in the 98th percentile on tactical analysis. 99th on adaptive problem-solving, perfect marks on survival scenario simulations. And when the recruiters asked why she wanted to join the most dangerous military force in 5 galaxies, she had looked them dead in the eye and said, "Because nobody expects me to." The bioscan chamber was a cylinder of pale blue light, sterile and cold. Maya stepped onto the platform and immediately felt the tingling sensation of 1,000 microscopic sensors analyzing every cell in her body. Bone density, muscle composition, neural response time, cardiovascular efficiency. The scanner was designed to categorize threats, to place every species on a scale from harmless to apocalyptic. Above her head, holographic text began to scroll. Species, human. Origin, Earth, Sol system. Classification, carbon-based mammalian bipedal. Standard atmospheric requirements. Standard gravity acclimation. Threat assessment. Calculating. The number started at 0. Most species register between 300 and 800 on the threat scale. Anything below 200 was considered support personnel. Anything above 1,000 was flagged for advanced combat programs. Maya watched the number climb. 50, 100, 200, around the chamber. Instructors watched with mild interest. Humans were new to the galactic stage. Curious, certainly. Their planet was a death world by most standards, with gravity that would crush species from lighter planets, and an atmosphere so oxygen-rich it was practically combustible. But the galaxy had seen death worlders before. They were rarely impressive. The number kept climbing. 400, 600, 800. Now the instructors were paying attention. A Threen officer, insectoid and precise, leaned toward the display. "Error," she clicked. "Impossible," replied her colleague, a floating intelligence named Oryx who existed primarily as network consciousness in a containment sphere. Bioscanners are foolproof. They measure cellular potential, adrenal response, neuroplasticity, skeletal leverage ratios. 1,000. The chamber's light shifted from blue to yellow. Caution threshold. 1,200. Yellow became orange. Elevated concern. Maya stood perfectly still, feeling the scan dig deeper. It was measuring things she did not fully understand. The density of her fast-twitch muscle fibers, the efficiency of her mitochondria, the way her adrenal system could flood her body with enough adrenaline to temporarily override pain receptors. The scanner was cataloging millions of years of evolutionary warfare, predator and prey dynamics, survival on a planet that tried to kill everything that lived on it. 1500. Orange became red. Active threat level. "Shut it down," someone ordered. "I cannot," Oryx replied, his fear pulsing with agitation. "The scan is incomplete. Protocol requires full analysis." 1800. Around the chamber, cadets pressed closer. The Vrexians, the Kronak, the crystalline scholars, and the stone warriors. Everyone wanted to see the little human who was breaking their precious scanner. 2000. The light turned crimson. Emergency protocols activated. Containment fields shimmered into existence around the chamber. Energy barriers designed to hold planet crackers and singularity weapons. And still the number climbed. Maya felt something shift inside her. Not fear. She had left fear behind somewhere around age 12, when she realized the world would never make space for her unless she carved out herself. This was recognition. The scanner was not malfunctioning. It was telling the truth about her species, about what humanity actually was beneath the fragile skin and soft features. 2500. "That is impossible," Kross breathed, his earlier amusement completely gone. "Nothing biological scores above 2000. That is Omega class. That is World Ender classification." The scan completed. Final threat assessment. 2847. Classification. Unknown. Recommend immediate isolation and further study. Potential catastrophic risk. The containment fields dropped. The chamber returned to its neutral blue. Maya stepped off the platform, and the entire hall fell silent. She looked around at the faces. The shock, the fear, the sudden reevaluation happening behind 100 different kinds of eyes. These were warriors from species that had conquered stars, tamed black holes, survived extinction events. And they were looking at her like she was a loaded weapon with no safety switch. An instructor approached, a DeLorme commander with 6 arms and ceremonial battle scars across his chin and his chest. "Cadet Chen," he said carefully, like he was addressing a landmine. "There must be some mistake. Humans are Category 4 life forms. Mid-range threat index. Your reading is..." "Accurate," Maya interrupted. Her voice was soft but absolute. "I imagine it is." The commander's mandibles clicked nervously. "You understand what this means. Omega-class designations are reserved for species capable of planetary destruction, hive minds, psychic collectives, beings that consume stars." Maya smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was a smile of someone who had been called weak, fragile, inadequate her entire life, and was now watching the universe recalibrate. "Funny thing about humans," she said. "We are really good at being underestimated." She walked past Commander, past the gawking cadets, past Kross, who was still staring at the display like it had personally betrayed him. She found her assigned barracks number on her datapad and headed toward the dormitory wing. Behind her, chaos erupted. Instructors shouting into communicators. Emergency meetings being called. The entire administrative structure of the most prestigious military academy in 5 galaxies scrambling to figure out what to do with the human girl who had just broken their threat assessment system. Maya did not look back. She had a schedule to keep. Orientation started in 4 hours. Combat trials in 2 days. And somewhere in this massive station full of warriors and killers and apex predators, there were people who had dismissed her, overlooked her, written her off as irrelevant. She was going to enjoy proving them wrong. Every single one of them. The dormitory was standard military efficiency. 30 bunks arranged in neat rows, lockers at the foot of each bed, a communal refreshment station at the far end. Maya found her assigned bunk, number 17, and started unpacking her gear. Regulation uniforms. Training equipment. A single photograph of Earth, blue and green, and impossibly fragile looking against the black of space. Other cadets filtered in slowly, maintaining careful distance. Word had spread fast. The human, the broken scanner, the Omega class reading that should not exist. A Felician cadet, feline and graceful, approached cautiously. Her name tag read Sera. "Is it true?" she asked. Her voice was musical, curious rather than hostile. "Did you really score over 2,000? Maya folded a uniform and placed it in her locker. Apparently. How? I have no idea. I am just human. Sera's ears twitched. Just human, right? And I am just Felician. She sat on the bunk across from Maya, studying her. You know what this means. The others will come for you. Not officially, but in training, in simulations. They will want to test you, break you, prove the scanner was wrong. Let them try. You are confident. No, Maya said quietly. I am tired. Tired of being small. Tired of being dismissed. Tired of fighting twice as hard for half the recognition. She turned to face Sera directly. So, yeah, if they want to test me, bring it on. I have been tested my whole life. Sera smiled, showing sharp teeth. I think I like you, human. Maya. My name is Maya. Maya. Good name. Strong. I am Sera, and I think we're going to be excellent friends. The lights in the dormitory dimmed to evening cycle. Around them, other cadets settled into their bunks, conversations dying down to whispers. Somewhere in the vast station, instructors were reviewing her file, making calls to Earth, trying to understand what they had just discovered. Maya lay back on her bunk, staring at the ceiling. They called her weak. The scanner had corrected them. And tomorrow, the real education would begin. Morning cycle arrived with all the subtlety of a meteor strike. Alarms shrieked through the dormitory at 0500 hours, and within seconds the entire barracks erupted into controlled chaos. Cadets from a dozen species scrambled into formation, muscle memory and military discipline overriding the fog of sleep. Maya was already awake. She had been for an hour, running through mental exercises her instructors back on Earth had drilled into her. Visualization, breathing patterns, the kind of psychological conditioning that separated survivors from casualties. The training yard was vast enough to hold 3 frigates side by side, with obstacle courses that seemed designed by someone who hated the concept of survival. Anti-gravity zones, thermal extremes, pressure chambers that could simulate anything from the crushing depths of ocean worlds to the near vacuum of dead moons. Commander Vortak stood at the center, his DeLorme physiology making him look like a nightmare engineered for warfare. 6 arms, each one capable of independent combat coordination. Eyes that could track 30 separate targets simultaneously. A voice that could shatter reinforced glass when he chose to raise it. He did not raise it now. He did not need to. Cadets, he began, his tone conversational, and somehow more terrifying for it. Welcome to your first evaluation. Today we discover who among you has the capacity to become something more than target practice. Today we separate warriors from corpses waiting to happen. He gestured toward the obstacle course. You will complete the Gauntlet. All of you, together, as a unit. Your time does not matter. Your individual performance does not matter. What matters is whether you can function as a cohesive force when everything is trying to kill you. His eyes found Maya in the formation, held there for a beat too long. Some of you may have heard rumors. Whispers about threat assessments and broken scanners and impossible readings. Let me be clear. I do not care what a machine says about you. I care what you can do when the universe is collapsing around your ears and your teammates are bleeding out in your arms. Machines lie. Biology lies. Action is the only truth that matters. He smiled, and it was not pleasant. Begin. The gauntlet opened like the mouth of some mechanical beast. Maya moved with her unit, a mixed squad of 20 cadets representing 8 species. Kross was there, the massive Vrexian still regarding her with something between suspicion and fascination. Sera bounded ahead on feline legs, her natural agility making the first obstacles look effortless. The course started simple. Balance beams over electrified pits. Climbing walls with handholds that retracted randomly. Standard stuff designed to test basic physical competency. Then it escalated. The temperature dropped 40 degrees in 3 seconds. Frost formed on metal surfaces. Cadets with thin exoskeletons began slowing immediately, their cold-blooded metabolism struggling to compensate. A Threen cadet named Zixel stumbled, her legs locking up. Maya grabbed her without thinking, hauling the insectoid warrior to a thermal vent pumping warmer air. "Stay here until you stabilize," Maya said. "We need you functional." Zixel's compound eyes flickered with surprise, but she nodded, mandibles clicking gratitude. The next section involved a maze that reconfigured itself every 30 seconds, walls sliding into new positions, floors dropping away to reveal spike-filled pits. Navigation by memory was impossible. You had to react, adapt, trust your instincts. Maya found herself in the lead somehow, her smaller size letting her slip through gaps that would trap larger species. She called out positions, warned about traps, coordinated movement with the kind of tactical precision that had nothing to do with physical strength and everything to do with seeing patterns others missed. A Kronak warrior named Durak charged ahead, relying on his species' legendary durability. He triggered a pressure plate, and the wall beside him exploded outward in a shower of razor-sharp flechets. Maya hit him low, driving her shoulder into the back of his knee joint, the one weak point in Kronak physiology. He went down hard, cursing in 3 languages, but the flechets passed over both of them, embedding in the wall beyond. "Stay low," Maya snapped. "Mass does not help if you're dead." Durak stared at her, his stone-like features unreadable. Then he laughed, a sound like boulders grinding together. "You are insane, little human." "Probably." They pushed forward. The course threw everything at them. Simulated weapons fire, collapsing structures, a section flooded with non-lethal nerve gas that required breath control most species had not developed. Maya held her breath for 2 minutes and 17 seconds, helping guide 3 cadets who could not through the toxic zone before her lungs finally screamed for oxygen. And through it all, she felt something clicking into place. This was not about being the strongest or the fastest. It was about being adaptable, resilient, willing to break yourself into pieces if it meant your team survived. That was the human advantage. Not physical superiority, not technological marvel, just the sheer bloody-minded refusal to quit when every logical calculation said you should. They emerged from the Gauntlet 3 hours later, covered in synthetic blood and bruises, and the kind of exhaustion that makes your bones ache. 19 cadets out of 20 had made it through. Only one casualty, a crystalline being who had shattered under kinetic stress and been immediately teleported to medical. Commander Vortax studied them with those multi-spectrum eyes. "Adequate," he said, which from a DeLorme commander was practically a marriage proposal. "You function as a unit. You adapted to challenges. You protected your weakest members." His gaze landed on Maya again. "Some of you exceeded expectations significantly." The other cadets turned to look at her, not with dismissal now, with calculation. Respect, maybe, or the warrior's equivalent, which was acknowledging you as a legitimate threat. Kross approached as they headed back toward the barracks, his massive frame casting a shadow that could clip small planets. "I owe you an apology, Maya Chen," he said. The translator made his hissing speech sound almost formal. "I called you weak. I was wrong." Maya wiped synthetic blood off her face. "You were not entirely wrong. I am weak. Compared to you, compared to most species here, I am fragile as glass. But glass can cut when it breaks, and humans learned a long time ago how to turn weakness into a weapon." "Your scanner reading," Kross continued. "I've been thinking about it. The threat assessment was not measuring your physical capabilities. It was measuring something else. Your species' capacity for violence, perhaps your willingness to endure. Your spite," Maya interrupted. "It was measuring spite. Humans are incredibly spiteful creatures. We do not give up, ever, even when we should, especially when someone tells us we cannot do something." Sera peered at her other side, somehow not even breathing hard despite the 3-hour ordeal. "There's a gathering tonight," the Felixian said. "Informal. Senior cadets want to meet the human who broke the scanner. You should come." "Is that an order or request?" "A friendly suggestion. With teeth." Maya considered. Every instinct said to avoid unnecessary social situations, to stay focused on training, to not give the others more ammunition to judge her with. But she had not come here to hide. She had come here to prove something, and you could not do that from shadows. Fine. Where? Recreation deck. Section 12. After evening meal. The rest of the day passed in a blur of academic sessions. Galactic history, weapons theory, threat assessment protocols, which now felt darkly ironic. Maya absorbed information like a sponge, taking notes in shorthand, asking questions that made the instructors pause and reconsider their prepared answers. During tactical simulation class, they were paired off for combat scenarios. Maya drew a partner named Ren, a liquid-state being from a Nexus colonies who existed in a containment suit and communicated through bioluminescent patterns. The scenario was simple. Hostage extraction from a fortified position. Time limit, 10 minutes. Most teams, when aggressive, try to punch through defenses with firepower and mass. They all failed within 4 minutes. Maya studied the simulation, noting patrol patterns, structural weaknesses, timing windows. Then she looked at Ren, who pulsed curious green. "Can you alter your density?" she asked. Affirmative pulse. "Can you flow through a ventilation system?" Another affirmative. This one tinged with understanding. "Good. Here is what we're going to do." 8 minutes later, they had extracted all 3 hostages without firing a single shot. Maya had used Ren's unique biology to infiltrate through the ventilation, disable security from inside, and create enough chaos that the enemy never knew where the real threat was coming from. While the defenders scrambled to respond to false alarms, Maya had simply walked into the front entrance and escorted the hostages out. The instructor, a battle-scarred 3-named Commander Silax, stared at the results for a full 30 seconds. "That should not have worked," she finally clicked. "But it did," Maya replied. "You used your partner's biology as a weapon. You turned his vulnerability into an advantage. You ignored conventional assault doctrine entirely." "Yes. Is that a problem?" Silax's antennae twitched in what might have been amusement. "No, Cadet Chen. That is exactly what we're trying to teach you. Conventional thinking gets you killed. Adaptation keeps you alive." She paused. "Your threat assessment score is making more sense. Now." Evening came, and with it the gathering Sera had mentioned. The recreation deck was less formal than the training areas, with ambient lighting that shifted through calming spectrums and furniture designed to accommodate a dozen different body types. About 30 senior cadets were present, 2nd and 3rd year students who had survived long enough to earn the right to look at newcomers with amused superiority. They parted as Maya entered, creating a corridor that led to the center of the room where a Vrexian even larger than Kross stood waiting. "The human," he said. His voice needed no translator, rumbling in Galactic standard with perfect diction. "I am Thane, 3rd year tactical specialist. Top scores in combat simulations for my cohort." Maya recognized a challenge when she heard one. "Nice to meet you. Your scanner reading has caused quite a commotion. Many believe it was an error, a glitch, that a species as physically unremarkable as yours could not possibly register Omega class. And what do you believe?" Thane's eyes glittered. "I believe in testing theories empirically. I propose a demonstration. You and me, combat simulation, non-lethal parameters. Right now." The room went silent. Every eye turned to Maya. She could refuse. Should refuse, probably. Thane had 2 years of advanced training on her. He was built like a tank crossed with a natural disaster. This was not a fight. She could win through conventional means. But then again, Maya had never been conventional. "Sure," she said. "Why not?" The simulation chamber activated around them, creating a neutral arena with basic cover and standard lighting. Thane took a position on one side, cracking his neck with sounds like breaking concrete. Maya stood opposite, looking impossibly small and fragile. "Ready?" the simulation controller announced. "Ready?" Thane growled. Maya just smiled. "Begin." Thane charged immediately, relying on speed and mass to overwhelm before strategy even mattered. It was a valid tactic. Against most opponents, it would work. Maya moved, Not backward, not to the side, forward and down, sliding beneath his initial rush, her hand lashing out to tag the pressure point behind his knee as she passed. Thane's leg buckled, his momentum carrying him forward into a stumble. She was already behind him, using his own body as cover, staying in his blind spot. Thane spun, faster than some of his size should move, but Maya was faster still. Her smaller frame let her change direction instantly. She did not try to match his strength. She used it against him, redirecting, deflecting, making him fight his own mass and momentum. The match lasted 47 seconds. It ended with Thane on his back, Maya's knee on his chest, her hand positioned where a killing blow would land if the simulation had been set to lethal. The chamber fell silent. Maya stood, offering Thane a hand up. After a moment, he took it. "Well," he said, breathing hard. The scanner was not wrong. Maya looked around at the gathered cadets. "I am not special. I am not gifted. I am not some genetic aberration. I am just human. And humans learned a long time ago that the universe does not care about fair fights. So we stopped fighting fair." She walked toward the exit, pausing at the doorway. "They call me weak." The scanner corrected them. But here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Weakness is just another tool. Fear is just another weapon. And humans became apex predators on a death world by learning to use everything, including ourselves, as ammunition. She left them there, standing in the silence, reconsidering everything they thought they knew about threat assessment, combat doctrine, and the fragile little species from the backwater system that nobody had taken seriously. Until now. Chen smiled as she walked back to her bunk. Tomorrow, the real training would begin, and she could not wait.